Attention, attention everyone. This is Allie, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio.
Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee is America's iced coffee. It's rich, smooth, always freshly brewed. Dunkin' has all the flavors you love. Also available in butter pecan and new coconut cream pie iced coffee flavors. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Dunkin' Donuts new fruited iced teas are made with real fruit juice and fruit pieces. Try a mango, pineapple, or blackberry today. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. In high fidelity.
It's the only long wrestling podcast with the Enforcer.
I believe they're called enforcers, Gordon. I sell women's shoes.
And the Stallion.
Stallion, baby! I am not what you would call a handsome man. I'll kick you in the nuts and you'll smile at me and like it. Oh, nice!
Welcome to yet another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. I am the Enforcer. This gentleman is the Stallion, and I believe we are joined on the phone by one Kacee Carlisle. Is that true?
That is true. Hey, guys. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Welcome to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We appreciate you taking out some of your time and speaking with us.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys giving me the time.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations with your victory last weekend over Maria Manic at up in Amsterdam and New York. You're in our neck of the woods last weekend.
I was, yeah. Why didn't I see you guys? What happened?
I feel like we dropped the ball now.
We dropped the ball. Work got in the way. Well, actually, we're a little bit further east. We're all the way stuck out there on Long Island. But
snowing, maybe was that why?
It was supposed to be snow. Okay. That was the week before.
That's my fault.
Well, talk to us about the show.
That was my first time up there. It was for Dynasty up in Amsterdam, New York, as you said, and that was my first time wrestling for Dynasty, and it was really a fantastic night. I was really impressed with the way the company was run. It was you never know what you're walking into. That's the beauty that is independent wrestling. And you don't always necessarily know when you're working for a company for the first time what you're getting yourself into or what will prove to be true versus what they have told you to expect going into it. But I was absolutely impressed with it, and I had a great time. It was a really professional crew from the locker room to the management. And as you said, I had a match that night with Maria Manic, and it was apparently her birthday. So she tried taking up a couple of minutes of our match time to celebrate her birthday, which I, of course, wasn't going to have any of at all. So after a little bit of an incident with a birthday cake that may or may not have gone flying through the air and into the crowd a little bit, the match itself, it actually didn't last all that long, to be honest with you. It was just a matter of minutes, and I hit my case closed finisher on her, and that was that. 1, 2, 3.
Judging by your work, I take it you take great pride in playing the spoiler in a lot of these matches.
Well, clearly I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just me, but yeah, I am a very natural heel, which some people try to argue with, because I am also very professional and, carry myself in a very professional manner and so forth. And meaning I'm easy to get along with and everything. But I am a very natural heel because I am an incredible smartass and incredibly sarcastic. And I love being the antagonist, and I love being that girl. So you're absolutely right. Yes.
Do you feel like in today's wrestling industry, it is difficult to be like an actual real deal heel?
I don't know that it's necessarily difficult to be. I think it's difficult to find people who want to be, or who are willing to be. Um, and to be honest with you, to some extent, I could probably be lumped into that. Although I do, as you say, revel in being the heel. I don't think it's a matter of being able to be. To an extent, there are some fans who don't care if you're there to be the baby face or you're there to be the heel. They're going to cheer who they want. And they're going to do what they want. So in that sense, it might be difficult. But when it comes down to it, I think that it's not so much able to be. I think it's, do you want to be? I think a lot of the newer wrestlers who have gotten in the business within the past couple of years, and this is coming, obviously I've been in the business for quite a while now, but I think that they find it hard to be willing to be that nasty, true heel who honestly is going to antagonize the fans and not really care if they truly like you or not. It's, not about the merch sales and not about the follows online and stuff. And I think that people just nowadays don't necessarily want to be that true heel. I think that's what it boils down to.
Speaking of Dynasty Wrestling over the weekend, one of my favorite professional wrestlers on the planet right now, actually, Bobby Fish, made a huge surprise appearance over the weekend. And I know you said you don't know a lot of times what you're getting with independent wrestling, but I feel like the true, I should say, more reliable independent wrestling promotions have a lot of these surprises now. And I feel like that's because the talent pool is so vast. So I think having a guy like Bobby Fish or having a Tommy Dreamer at an event like that brings a lot of credibility. And, for anybody on the card like yourself, that's going to bring a lot more eyes to the product.
Yeah, and I don't know. Obviously, I can't speak for other people, excuse me, when it comes to the way that they conduct business or anything like that. But I know for me, from being a worker, and somebody who's going to be part of that locker room, whether people want to say it or not, there does come a time when the roster of the company who has contacted you to come in and work for them, it may play a part in your decision of whether or not you want to be part of this company. I mean, I think that everybody should always strive to surround themselves with who they consider to be, good, solid workers, good, solid talent, professionals, who really go about the business the right way, and aren't there just to have a place to roll around in the ring and so forth. And, for the fans, it gives them the same thing. If fans are maybe new to professional wrestling, or maybe they've only followed a certain promotion, or a certain wrestler, something like that, if they can see people who they may be familiar with booked on these cards, obviously that's going to be something that draws them in, and then they are then exposed to the rest of the card. And it just is a win-win situation for everybody when you have solid talent booked on a card. That's just a fact.
So when you started out in the business, you started out in a manager capacity, correct? And then you transitioned into an in-ring competitor?
Correct, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was that transition like for you from going from a manager at ringside and then kind of moving into a more in-ring regular match capacity? Was that difficult to do, or was it very easy by maybe watching some of the people that you managed in the ring and learning from them?
I don't want to say it was easy, because I don't want to discredit what it takes to be in the ring by any means. It wasn't easy necessarily. However, I did find it to be a smooth transition for myself personally. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think it's a combination of many factors. I was watching wrestling from the time I was 8. And when I say I was watching wrestling, I mean, I was freaking obsessed. It was all I cared about. It's one of those not many things have changed type of things. And I think when you get into the business and you've been watching it for that long and you have history, knowledge of knowing, you're not just learning from scratch what a hammerlock is or any moves or anything, and kind of what it's supposed to, the end result's supposed to be. I have that under my belt. But working in the managerial capacity that I did for so many years before my first match, I absolutely learned so much. And I think it's really understated how much you can learn by being there at ringside, not only in the locker room when it comes time to, be privy to the process of making that match come to reality, but also just being there, listening to the fans at ringside and seeing how the guys in the ring react to it and what they do with it and their timing, their pacing, everything. So I took all of that wrapped up in a bow with me, and I prolonged my own in-ring debut for quite a while because I truly believed, and still do, I said to everybody, I am not going to disrespect this business by stepping in the ring before I think I can do so without completely, crapping the ring. I don't want to disrespect the business and everyone who's been in it before me, because the business isn't going to go anywhere, and I still say that to this day. So when it did come time for my first match, I was almost ill with nerves, and I was terrified, of course, but I didn't feel unprepared, and I did feel like it was a very smooth transition because I wasn't fresh greenhorn right out of the gate. This is the first thing I'm doing. I had those years under my belt, and I'd been a fan for so long, but it was my comfort zone, and it still is.
So you said you've been watching, wrestling since you were 8 years old. So who were the wrestlers, whether it be, male or female, that influenced you, in terms of their character and in-ring style, with your current character and in-ring style right now?
I was hugely influenced when I was younger by watching Sherry Martel, and I was watching her when she was wrestling. A lot of people kind of sort of remember her more for managing, DiBiase and Shawn Michaels and so forth, but I watched her as a wrestler before she got to that point. And we're talking, mid to late 80s here. I was very heavily influenced by her. Her style, her persona, the way she carried herself. And that's why to this day, if I'm compared to her, I just am over the moon. I was influenced by Luna Vachon, these nasty, like you were saying earlier about being a true heel. That's how I perceived these ladies when I was younger and I was a fan. Judy Martin, and I loved the Jumping Bomb Angels. They were these peppy baby faces, but they could work. And I recognized that even back then. I loved Ted DiBiase. I always thought he was underrated. Again, even just as a fan, without even knowing the business, I was a fan of his work. I was a huge fan of Rick Rude's work. Just kind of, I wasn't always the mainstream, yay Hulk Hogan, yay Ultimate Warrior. I even as a fan, I appreciated it in Shawn Michaels as well, especially once he started his singles career. I just appreciated the guys who I felt like, I don't know what it was when I was that age before I was in the business. I don't know what it was that attracted. It was that it factor that everyone talks about, but those are the people who really stood out to me when I was, young and still a fan.
Kacee, you mentioned Shawn Michaels, and just before we go any further, I got to let you know that the battle line has been drawn down the middle between myself and Joe. He is Team Shawn Michaels, and I am Team Bret Hart. So before we go any further, if you had to pick one, whose side are you on?
Oh, no. If I had known that, I never would have mentioned it because now I'm in the middle.
No, cat's out of the bag now. Now we got to know.
Crap. See, I need these little heads up. God, that is so tough, guys, because I hold them both in very high esteem. Wow, I'm quiet. I don't want to give you dead air, but I'm sitting here thinking, like, trying to give it some really quick, honest to God thought.
No pressure. No pressure. I did not prepare you for a pressure situation, but
you have me stammering. If I had to choose between the two of them, honestly, I think just by the teeny tiniest little eyelash of a hair, I would maybe have to give it to Bret. Just the tiniest little bit. As much as I was a huge Shawn Michaels fan, I don't know why I say that, to be honest. That's what my gut's saying.
You are now not only my favorite guest, but also my favorite wrestler ever. So I can sleep better tonight now knowing we have one more for Team Bret Hart, and Joe is pacing around furiously, just so you know.
Well, I'm going to sleep better knowing this too, except for the Joe pacing. I'm scared to cross paths with him now. I might get blasted. I'll eat a super kick as his revenge.
Oh, he's preparing it right now.
Mike's going to get that after the show's over. Don't worry about it. He'll take it on.
You mentioned Luna Vachon, and I definitely see a lot of similarities in your style. Somebody else, watching a lot of your matches, I noticed almost like a bully mentality